Made the finals
ceiling.
All right, let's
last year.
set this aside, talk about Knicks NBA
In a
medals.
bubble.
Russ booming on the Knicks last night, but New York came back to beat the Wizards, and Russ just missed a medal. So, Nick, who you got on Friday?
All right, we'll go fast here. Bronze medalist, speaking of those Heat, Bam Adebayo, 29-9-7 with 5 blocks. But they lost to the Blazers. Damian Lillard, 3 clutch free throws in the final minute. But Dame was not the star for the Blazers last night. C.J. McCollum, 35-8 last night, as he was the best player on the court for an evening. C.J. McCollum gets a bronze. And the ultra-rare back-to-back gold medals, De'Aaron Fox. Young man I watched in person play AAU basketball his whole high school career. De'Aaron Fox, 44-7. Has scored 141 against the Warriors. It's very impressive when you can. Well, De'Aaron Fox scored almost 50 points in a running clock first half AAU game I was at. I've never seen anything like it. Listen, Draymond, greatest defender ever, not rubbing off on his teammates evidently, because they allowed 141 in regulation to the Kings. But De'Aaron Fox gets the gold. Wilds?
All right, who didn't,
You know,
Wilds? Who
last
didn't?
week Draymond got dropped and recovered and challenged a three-point shot. I was like, oh, it's actually a highlight. Didn't work here for Mr. Lee. Gets dropped, and then he's like, I'll challenge it too, just like Draymond. Oh, I can't believe it. I'm a champion, Dwight Howard says. Like, hey, guys, what are you going to do, Dwight? What are you going to do, Danny, to celebrate our rings? Danny Green's like, well, I'm going to go 8 for 12 from 3 and score 28 points. What are you going to do, Dwight? I'm going to get thrown out in the lamest way possible by just bumping into Harrell and then be like, what? Be flabbergasted that I got teed up again. And in the break, have Doc Rivers say it's just I was acting like a clown. So, 2 different paths there. Danny Green had one of the best games of his year. Dwight Howard ejected. Super lame reason.
Dwight. Dwight's never changed, Dwight.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Time now for Drawing a Blank. All right, here we go. The Nuggets made maybe the biggest playoff splash of the day. They got Aaron Gordon from Orlando trying to make a run out west. But, Brandon, the winner of the NBA trade deadline yesterday was blank.
Yeah, we're missing it. NBA trade deadline. All the business didn't have to happen yesterday. We had so much time to get business done. The winner is the Nets. The guy that was available for so many other teams, the Nets picked him up in James Harden. So they're the clear-cut winners because they got the deal done January 13th. And now they're sitting there while everybody else is scrambling, trying to get these deals done. The Lakers trying to get Lowry. The Clippers bring in, who I like, Rajon Rondo. But now we're sitting here in our rhythm and waiting to get these 3 back on the court together. This is the winner, the Nets.
Brandon, you are so good usually about answering the question. The question has to do with this week. That happened months ago. You're just trying to shoehorn the Nets into it because they did literally nothing. They did nothing yesterday. What are you talking about? All right, the winner of the deadline was the Sixers. Sometimes the best moves are the ones you don't make. And while I thought Kyle Lowry would be perfect with Philly, they were going to, and this is what was demanded. This isn't speculation. They were going to have to give up Tyrese Maxey, Halliburton, Danny Green, not Halliburton, pardon me. He doesn't play for them. Tyrese Maxey, Matisse Thybulle, Danny Green, and 2 first-round picks. That would have been paying 160 cents on the dollar for Kyle Lowry. Instead, they got George Hill for essentially nothing to supplement their guard rotation and to replace Steph Curry at the end of games. So I think the Sixers did great. Not surprising, they have the best GM in the league, but I think they were the clear-cut winners yesterday, Wilds.
Second best.
I think I was happy for Drake yesterday and the fact that Kyle Lowry didn't move on. We had a miniature goodbye party, miniature retirement party from the Raptors, and we're like, oh, it's been a great time with Kyle Lowry here. We'll see him later. Nope, not gonna happen. He's still here, so I'm happy for Drake. But Nick, I've got to ask you a question. What is going on with the Toronto/Tampa Bay Raptors? For me, the sword of apathy cuts both ways, because when the Raptors are good, they're like, oh, how come no one's paying attention to us? Siakam's great. All right, and now they signed Van Fleet to a big contract. Siakam's fallen off the map. They're kind of rebuilding because they were going to ship out Lowry, but now they're not. So what's your take on what the future outlook is for the Raptors and what Masai is up to?
Okay, well, I think what people might get mad at this. I think what Masai might be up to is figuring out where he's going to work next. I don't think Masai is long for Toronto, not because they're going to fire him, but because they would never fire him, but his contract's expiring and he would be very sought after. And I think that, listen, they've got Van Vliet, they've got Siakam, they've got OG. I think they're looking at this year as we have to play in Tampa. COVID wrecked our team. Well, and that next year, I think they have a good, decent core. But when you look at the East, Brandon, Brooklyn's young and excellent. Philly is young and excellent. Milwaukee's young and excellent. Miami is not young, but they're good. And maybe one day someone will know how to run the Celtics and they'll be able to take advantage of Tatum and Brown. There's 5 teams far better than them.
Every chance they get.
So, and one other note, though. One other note on the Raptors. They'll get something for Lowry because I think they'll sign and trade him this offseason. They won't get as much as they were asking at the deadline, but I don't think he'll walk for nothing. So I think they'll get a little something for him this offseason, but certainly not Tyler Hero like they were asking for at the deadline, Jenna.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
All right. Here we go. On to Houston now. Rockets dealt Victor Oladipo down to Miami. Didn't exactly get a huge trade haul back. So, Brandon, the loser of the NBA trade deadline was blank.
Oh, this is obvious. The more I'm around you, Nick, the more I see the Celtics problem. It's Danny Ainge, Jenna. I'm sorry to tell you. But last year, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and now they're below 500. You're wasting these guys. Tatum, like, what are you going to do? Nick, I see it. The problem is Danny Ainge, and the losers are the Celtics. Once again, he doesn't participate. He does nothing.
Yeah, let's stay here for a second before I give my answer. Listen, the Celtics made a trade at the deadline for the first time in 7 years, and the trade was Evan Fournier for 2 second-round picks. They threw in Jeff Teague as well. They had this massive trade exception. Why did they have a trade exception? Because they got, instead of trading Gordon Hayward for Miles Turner, as was offered, they're like, no, we're going to trade him for a trade exception with Charlotte because we're going to use that trade exception to get a good play, and you get Evan Fournier. It's been, the Kemba Walker thing has been a disaster. It looks like the Terry Rozier decision was a bad one. Tristan Thompson decision has been a disaster. The draft picks, aside from Tatum and Brown in large part, have been disasters. And so there's no getting around that the Celtics window, it's not closed because you have Tatum and Brown. But you should have made the finals in the last few years, and you haven't. And the team is worse now than it was 3 years ago, which should be unspeakable. So, Brandon, you and I agree on that. We're going to disagree on this, though. The biggest loser of the deadline was the team you said was the biggest winner. It's the Nets.
Wow.
And here's why. Oh, wow. Here's why. Who are the Nets competing with? On a lower level, they're competing with the Heat, right? Okay, so that's the interesting thing. And maybe we can put Brandon up here for a moment. Brandon thinks, and by the way, he's not the only one. Brandon's not the only one who thinks the Nets are just drastically, demonstrably, way better than everybody else. I don't agree with that. If you also don't agree with that, you, the audience, then think about what happened yesterday. The Heat, who I don't think are going to make the finals, but the Heat got better. They're the 4th best team in the East. The Bucks, who are in the top 3, they added P.J. Tucker a few days ago. That's a huge addition. And the Sixers added George Hill. So all 3 teams that you are going to be playing in the 2nd and 3rd round of the playoffs, Brandon, all got better. And the Nets stood
Where's
pat.
my jerseys?
That's a problem. You're wearing jerseys. Them. You're wearing your jersey. Brandon, do you disagree with what
Nick,
I said?
The reason why, listen, 100% I disagree. Yesterday, my James Harden jersey came in. That's why I'm wearing it. Right here, I have I have Kyrie Irving. And then the KD jersey is somewhere. I don't know where I misplaced my KD jersey, but it's somewhere around
Nobody
here.
can find him
Nick,
either.
that's why they're not competing against anyone. They have the purest scorers in the NBA on one team, 3. And when we're talking about modern basketball and how we play in the NBA today, it's all about getting buckets. And these guys are walking buckets. Everybody else, you can have a big 2, it's not enough. You can have a big 3 and it's not enough because you don't have these guys. These guys are averaging 25 plus points a night. And when they come back together, James Harden, if you want to be who you've been the last 7 years in Houston or whatever it was in the playoffs, fine. Kyrie Irving and KD can hold you down. Go take a night off. That can't happen in LA, Nick. It can't happen. It can't happen in Miami if you want to stay in the Eastern Conference. Those guys have to play lights out, night in and night out. And this team, they got depth when you talk about walking buckets. Okay. That's why.
I think the rest of the East got better yesterday, Wilds, and the Nets didn't. I think that's a problem for them.